It used to be the way of the world that the German luxury flagship was an executive saloon, but as both you and I know, the world we live in is an ever-changing place, and with the rise of the SUV, how long was it before the execs decided they wanted to sit a little bit higher and have a more imposing presence in the car park? This is the new BMW X7, BMW's latest flagship model. So welcome to the BMW Goliath, or as BMW like to call it, the X7. There is no two ways about it. This thing is enormous. I know it's a 7-seat SUV, but it's a full 23 centimetres longer than the BMW X5, which is no small vehicle in the first place. It's certainly a striking presence in any car park. It is truly an imposing vehicle, not just because of its size, but because of its rather chiselled, blocky looks. That said, there are a few muscular lines thrown in for good measure, which hint that maybe the X7 is a bit more than simply a luxury barge. I'm sure you're all going to wonder when I'm going to mention the elephant in the room, those enormous kidney grills at the front. I mean, Christ, they are the size of satellite dishes. Yeah, they're certainly divisive. I'm told that the Chinese market likes big, bold grills. Us Europeans, is it a bit crass? I don't know. I think one thing it does have in its favour is that it's a pretty enormous car, so they are all to scale. Oh, that's a fun little fact actually. They've had to enlarge the BMW badge on this car to make sure it's all proportionate to everything else with the vehicle because its scale is so enormous. I think barring those big kidney grills, it's a pretty inoffensive thing to look at, and it'll certainly fit in at the Heathrow Airport Business Lounge parking. Our X7's in M Sport trim, which means it gets some slightly more athletic bodywork and those great big polished alloy wheels. But with the X7, you don't want to be on the outside looking in, you want to be on the inside looking out, because this interior is right up there in terms of material quality and design. I mean, it's just amongst some of the plushest car interiors I've ever experienced. It really is a tour de force when it comes to luxury. I mean, firstly, you've got these really supportive sort of grand touring style seats, beautiful leather finishes, there's not a stitch out of place in this cabin. There's a nice contrast between matte and gloss materials, it's lined with aluminium. Yeah, it feels expensive. And of course, this is like a cathedral in here. There's a vast quantity of space that's only exaggerated by the panoramic glass roof on top, which is optional, and also there's a secondary one for the rearmost seats as well. The middle row enjoys ample levels of space, loads of headroom, acres of legroom, and there's no hump in the floor to bother the middle passengers. What's really nice is that the size is really maximised in this car. The 7-seat layout works perfectly because the two rearmost seats aren't jump seats. You could actually fit an adult back there quite reasonably. And in addition to that, you've got some boot room left over too. All of the seats can be operated, adjusted and stowed electrically with just a push of the button. In 7-seat configuration, the split folding tailgate gives way to 326 litres of space. In 5-seat configuration, it's 750 litres. And with all but the two front seats stowed, it's 2,120 litres. As well as the gratuitous level of space in here, occupants also enjoy high levels of technology. Things like BMW's park assists, Wi-Fi hotspot, those electrically adjustable seats, the latest incarnation of BMW's iDrive system, which has this enormous display that's really great to use, very intuitive system. All of this comes at no cost whatsoever. 4-zone climate control is also included on that list, but if you don't want your rearmost passengers feeling left out, you can actually option 5-zone air conditioning. But the best standard feature of the X7? That has to be its air suspension, because it irons out the creases in our battered British roads beautifully. I mean, we were going over some really rutted tarmac previously at some speed, and it's pillowy soft. I mean, other than the odd thump from those large alloy wheels, you sort of hear that audibly, you don't really feel anything. It's just this lovely, dare I say it, magic carpety type ride as you flow and meander down the road. It's really lovely, but then it's also not so saggy that whenever you do start barreling into corners at a bit of a pace, that it feels like the whole thing's going to fall over. This specific X7 is a 30D, and that means it gets BMW's lovely 3-litre 6-cylinder diesel engine with 261 brake horsepower and a huge 620 Newton meters of torque. That is plenty of shove. I mean, this is a big car and that is a reasonably sized engine, but it's that torque, not the power, that really surges the car on, and you're never left wanting for grunt in this vehicle. It'll make overtakes all day long. In fact, it'll do 0 to 62 miles per hour in 7 seconds and go on to a top speed of 141 miles per hour, all while netting an average of 33.4 mpg. The tranquility of the overall driving experience will have you glancing down at the speedo and going, oh crikey, I didn't think I was going quite that quickly. Like most BMWs, you'll find the X7 to have a series of selectable drive modes, including a new X off-road mode, which includes locking differentials and a series of modes to cycle through for snow, sand, mud, and etc. Now, I haven't tested the car off-road, but from what I've seen, it actually acquits itself really well. The aforementioned air suspension can actually be raised and lowered to help increase ground clearance of the vehicle. But what's really interesting is when you put this big X7 into sport mode down here, a mode that surely shouldn't seem natural for an SUV this size, and it displays the same sort of agility as its baby brother, the X5. It sort of shrinks around you. It doesn't feel like you've got a whole bus trailing behind you. It's very keen to turn in, as I've said before, body roll's kept in check, certainly considering the size of vehicle, and the steering is really precise, which is very unusual in an SUV of this size. Another DNA trait of BMW is a really nice, precise, easy to modulate brake pedal, of which this certainly has. On country roads, you actually find yourself hustling the X7 along at quite alarming speeds for the size of vehicle. Sporty? Nah, I wouldn't quite go that far. There's not quite enough feedback through the steering for you to really feel what's going on. It's not the most tactile of driving experiences, but it's certainly agile, and I think it gives, I can't actually think of another 7-seater that feels quite so compliant and eager as the X7. BMW still say that the 7 Series is a really important part of their portfolio, but they're truly embracing this SUV revolution, and who can blame them? But better than simply following a trend, the BMW X7 can stand on its own 2 feet as a really impressive package. It's so refined, it's so comfortable, it's the sort of vehicle you can drive from one end of the country to and back without breaking a sweat. It's such a beautiful long distance cruiser. I have to say, if you're looking to travel with 7 people business class, the X7 is certainly amongst the best of them. Thanks very much for watching, and let us know what you think in the comments below. Please subscribe for all of the latest and greatest cars to hit the road. For breaking news and written reviews, visit www.insidelane.co.uk.